Well, hello, folks. Hello. We are back. Back for more. Well, we've got Lenny on the board here, and we've just got a few more frames of Lenny to clean up and paint here. So let's bring this down to 25. Is that, well, let's make it a bit better make it one. Let's see, hold up. 100%. It's kind of funny how that's 100% and yet it's smaller than the full frame. I don't quite understand that line of thinking. Alright, so we have in our timeline, we have the layer is our rough animation underneath here. And the top layer is a color, so we are putting a color line, and where we're doing color. We're doing a final color on everything, so we are setting our excuse me, we're setting our brush at 7 pixels. We're using a solid brush, which if you look over here on the left side of the screen, you'll see the brush is set as a solid brush. And we're going to, the line on Lenny is black all the way around except for on his shirt. There we go. So we will pick our black and put a black line where it should go around Lenny. Okay. Sorry about the throat here. Got a lozenge for my throat, and I'm okay. Not sick. Just throat gets a little raw sometimes. Needs a little help. So thank God for lozenges for that purpose. They help. There we go. So here I've got this hand is going to be the stretched hand. It's bigger because I've chosen to make it bigger because it's stretching as it moves over. Let's see, I'm going to try something here. Let's see. 25. I'm going to move this over here. I like it a little bigger so I can see his face better. See that line? Yeah. Oh, here's another thing to think about too. If you ever do black characters or anyone that's got kinky hair, sometimes it's better to draw it the way I'm drawing it here. Though you could do a literal textural drawing. The textural drawing will boil when it's moving, but sometimes that actually is kind of a nice effect. So, you know, in the old days, I think we were all more concerned about the smoothness of character from drawing to drawing. But with all of the things you can do today digitally, to some degree you can control the look of something, even if it's textural. So like, let's say you have a texture like, I don't know, like maybe a chalk drawing kind of thing. You might actually be able to control that digitally a lot better than you could in the old days when you actually had to do it with the literal chalk on paper or some type of treated cell. You know, back then it was a lot harder to keep a consistency from one drawing to the next, but today with all the digital help that we have, you could actually probably control it somewhat so that it doesn't boil. But I don't know, even like I said, as I was just saying there, even if it does boil, that's not necessarily the worst thing that can happen because to some degree, there is a quality to something when it's boiling that actually is a characteristic of the drawing itself, which is fine. You know, it's not necessarily bad. And I think other artists would agree with me about this that it isn't necessarily a deficiency. It may actually be fine from a I don't know artistic standpoint. Maybe that's the thing. I don't know. At any rate, I think it's certainly negotiable. I wouldn't say that you had to feel like that you had to keep everything so consistent that it didn't boil. You could that could be an issue for you where it doesn't have to be. So all right, so we're going to put paint in here. Paint on the hair. Let's see the skin. There's the skin. The lips. I believe this is right. Let me check. See, let's go back a frame. Yeah, well, that's the right color. Okay, this is underneath, so catch that little white. Now, see here, because his eyes are going to be open here, we need white in those eyes. Even though the background is white, we still need the white in there. The shirt then, the shirt eliminates all of the blue lines, so in a way it's almost kind of pointless to have the blue line there. Yeah. It seems pointless, but I guess it isn't. Okay, back black again. I think I'll go, well, okay, so let's see. Oh, wait a minute. If I turn off the onion skin, does that change? Oh, yeah. It does. All right. Okay, now, you know what? I probably should not have had the onion skin on because the onion skin is letting me see through all the drawings, or at least the last one. So it's probably better if I turn the onion skin off because then I can see the drawing a lot better. Okay, so we have black here. And I'm going to get the hair again. Because, yeah, see, I can see this so much better now. I have to remind myself of this stuff, when I'm doing it. It isn't automatically obvious to me. I have to always kind of remind myself, it's like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. It helps you to see the drawing better, Because at this stage, because I'm doing all the cleanup and everything, and paint, sometimes I forget about a little thing like that. But it makes all the difference because it's a lot easier to trace the line if you're not looking at a color drawing underneath because you've got the onion skin playing, which is what I had happening. And especially also too because I'm drawing the image at a smaller size, and I'm doing that so that you all can see what I'm doing because I know that my image on the screen is interfering with you seeing what I'm doing. So that's why I have to make it smaller and move it over so that it doesn't intersect with the image of me that you see in the bottom right hand of the screen. So, because see, when I'm drawing it at full size, I don't see myself on the screen, but you do. So, yeah. So if there's anything that I'm drawing that's covered by my image, you won't see what I'm doing. And my whole reason for doing the tutorials in real time is so that you can see what I'm doing in real time. Because I think you retain the information a lot better that way and it's like I'm doing a literal, well, I am doing a literal tutorial for you in real time. I think the real time stuff is just so much better. And you guys can let me know in the comments if you like whether it is helpful to you or not. I would pray that it is. I believe it is. In a real classroom setting, this is what I would be doing. I would be showing you in real time. Um, I know a lot of people, I guess, can work from the time lapse tutorials I see on YouTube. But I'll be honest with you, they frustrate me. I don't like them at all. And I don't, I don't like them, okay? Because the reason why I don't like them is because you've got to it's hard enough to learn a program, but then you've got to, on top of learning that program, you have to decipher what the person is doing. And yeah, I get it. If you're doing something, it might take you 16 hours to do it. So I get it. Yeah, I understand. But I'm not doing this for my own to make life easy for me. I'm doing this to make life easy for you. If you're the person that's trying to learn how to use the software, it doesn't do you any good if you've got to, on top of learning, you've also got to um, try to decipher what you're even looking at. You've got to break it down and go, oh, let's see now, what did he do here? And I don't know. It just seems like that's counterproductive to me. It makes no sense to me to do that to you guys. So I'm not going to do that. All right, let's see. All righty, let's see. Where are we here? Yeah, okay. So the next one is there. All right, black. And we don't have too many more of these. Let's see, what have we got? Now we got a couple more drawings and we'll be done. A couple more drawings and we'll be done. Let's see. There we go. The rules of engagement and animation detail varies from character design to character design. Sometimes you have something going on a character in which you have a certain amount of detail that you want to utilize and you want to have it work over a period of time in the scene. But you're looking for consistency in the drawing. You want it to be consistent from one drawing to the next. And so some things the viewer will see in an error and some things they won't see. And of course that's revealed when you see the scene play. You know immediately, like, okay, I got this problem, I got that problem. To some degree, I guess you have to recognize whether or not how important it is, to have something be flawless. At Disney, when I was working at Disney, because you have so many departments at Disney, the way things worked there when I was working there was that there was just an integrity about the quality. There was this attitude about trying to create a certain level of excellence that each department was very responsible in terms of how they did their work. The attitude was, we want to do the very best job that we can do. And even if somebody was just doing in between drawings or what, everybody's job, everybody took their job very seriously to do a really good job, you know. Even though something might only be on the screen for just a moment, and it was going to be gone. There was still this attitude that, well, yeah, it's only going to be on the screen for 1/24th of a second, but I want to make sure that I've done the very best job I could to make that look as good as I could make it look, even though the average person probably wouldn't see the mistake. Um, and that was actually a kind of a good thing because there was this integrity about what we were doing, and I can honestly say that that attitude was definitely had an effect on everybody. It was a good thing. It was definitely a good thing. Um, yeah, I can't say enough good things about that really because you don't really realize until you see a final production and the amount of work that goes into it. Sometimes you don't have an appreciation for that kind of excellence. But when you're working in a studio and you're working around other people who do feel very strongly about it, um, yeah, it has an effect on you. It really does. In some ways, I guess you could say it's a kind of a straitjacket. It's like you sort of stuck then with, you're trying to create a certain level of quality, and that causes everything to take a lot longer, which is true. It does. It does cause things to take longer. Um, but I don't know. I don't know whether I wouldn't say that that's a handicap at all. But it does make things cost more. So yeah, I mean you can't get around that one. Cost is always a factor. But I mean, boy, I mean there are folks now, people who I worked with who are passed on now that they would have just loved to have the kind of conveniences that we have today in animation. I can only imagine what Walt Disney would have thought of this particular time where we can do digital animation and do it on this level. I wonder what he would have thought about that. I get to heaven, I'll have to ask him. Hey, Uncle Walt, what did you think of this? I got to kind of wonder. It just seems like, uh, well, but once again, I look at what they did do back in the day, and I marvel at it because and I guess I've said this before, but even with all of our technological advances, we still there's stuff that they did back in the day that still, in my opinion, every time I look at it, I just think that's fantastic. I mean, every time I watch Pinocchio, I look at it with my mouth hanging open, and I just think, my goodness. I mean, the level of quality and the animation and the color and it's just fantastic, fantastic. And with all of our digital everything that we do, I say that it doesn't hit me the same way. And I will say that the closest, when I was at Disney, we did a lot of really pretty nice stuff. I'd say pretty nice. And I think Pixar actually kind of is the studio. They were the ones that, in my opinion, carried the ball the best, better than anybody else did. I think in many ways Pixar carried the ball better than Disney, and which makes sense because uh, they did take the Disney model. They worked off of the Disney model for their story. They worked off the Disney model for a lot of things. They came up with their own thing, and they were good at that. And in the heyday, when they were doing the great stuff that they did, the Disney model was the thing to follow, and they did it a great job of it. Really great job of it, in my opinion. I think they did. Um, but yeah, when I look at the old, my gosh, Snow White, Pinocchio, Bambi, Dumbo, Cinderella, Peter Pan. When I look at those films to this day, I'm just amazed by them because I know when you look at the artwork, you know what you're looking at. You know you're looking at some artwork that someone did by hand. They did not have the luxury of a computer to help them get a certain quality of color, or you know they didn't have that. Everything had to be done by hand. It was a labor of love, you know. So I don't know, because you just your brain would just automatically say, well, if it's done with the computer, right, it's going to be awesome, right? And it is. I mean, I think the computer stuff you see, it is beautifully done. So I'm not taking anything away from that. I'm just saying that when I look at the old Disney, the original stuff, the stuff that we all remember, I certainly have to say that it's like, boy, it definitely is kind of in a class by itself. It's something. It is a marvel to behold. you know, say what you will, but you know, we don't have any. Who does anything that's like that now? Really? Um, so let's see. Oh, that's wrong. That's by using blue there. Should be black. Okay, let's see. I think this actually may be our last drawing, because I think the last drawing is just held. So I probably could just copy the entire drawing here. I think. Hmm. Ah. All right. Let's see. Yep. There we go. Okay. All right. Okay. Blue on the shirt. Yeah, I think this is probably going to be the last color drawing, I think. Let's see. Go. And boom. And there we go. Alright, so let's see. Black. So with a paint bucket on the hair, on the skin, the lips, eyes, white in the eyes, and the shirt. Okay. Alright, so let's see if I go to 100. Let's see. And move that over there. So let's see, we should be play on that. Let's see. Right. Yes, I think he's just freezing. I think, yeah. So like this frame and this frame are the same. Okay. So what I can do here is I can copy. I'll just grab Lenny here. And I'll go copy, go to the last frame here and paste the color. So there's no need to trace that because it's going to be the same frame. Let's see, I guess we'll use the same blue, but what we'll do is we'll go back and we'll change the pen back to the sketchy pen, and we'll give ourselves a little bit more on the line here. So for the word Lenny can be written in a slightly thicker, it's going to be it's like a sketchy word. So the way the word Lenny is written like it's written with the crayon or something. There we go. Okay. All right, so then, okay, so what we're going to do here is on this layer 1, we'll take the opacity down to 0 so that we only have the color layer. Yeah, there we go. Oh, that's turning. That looks kind of nice. All right. Okay, folks. Well, hey, we're all done there. So that's a good one. We'll stop this. Let's see, and save it. So, all right. So we'll start on the next scene tomorrow. I hope you all have a great day. What's left of it? I'll see you tomorrow. And once again, don't forget. I say the same thing almost every time. Don't forget to thank God for your talents and gifts. Don't forget to thank Him for the abilities that you have. Remember, Jesus is Lord.